He spent most of his weekends out on the water. One day, he decided to try out a new lake that was a few hours away, and he was really excited about it. There, he would make a catch that he was going to remember for the rest of his life. What he didn't know was that his excitement would soon change to horror. But before we start, smash the like button and make sure to subscribe if you haven't, and hit that notification bell so that you won't miss any new stories. Finally, he had been waiting for hours without making a single catch, and he almost thought there was something wrong with this lake. He was almost ready to give up and go home, but now his patience was rewarded. But of course he didn't do this, as he had no idea that this particular catch was going to end in disaster. He always returned all the animals he caught into the water, but not before taking a good look at them. And this fish, it was unlike anything he had ever seen before. He wiped his hands and grabbed his phone, wanting to look it up online. He soon found out that this was probably some kind of flying fish, but he could not find anything about this exact breed. He took a picture of the fish and posted it on an online fishing forum, asking if anyone knew what type of fish this was. Now that he knew the lake wasn't empty after all, he was willing to give it another shot while he waited. About an hour later, he finally remembered to check his phone again. As he unlocked it, he saw that he had a few notifications about comments on the picture that he had posted earlier, and he smiled. He was a little bit disappointed when he saw that most of the comments were from people who were just as curious about the fish as he was. One user named Mark had commented, "Get away from there now. What do you think you are doing?" Jake frowned as he read this, and he decided to send him a private message. He had no idea what it meant, but it was certainly a strange thing to comment. 10 minutes went by without any movement at all. This was when Jake realized that it was completely. His eyes widened in surprise when he saw that he had received a reply. It read, "Are you blind? Get away from that place." Jake's fingers flew over the keyboard typing, "Can you explain? What's so dangerous about this fish?" But the only response was a notification that Mark had blocked him. Sitting by the serene lake, Jake's mind whirled with frustration. Mark's cryptic warnings clashed with the peaceful setting. He gently scooped the mysterious fish from the bucket, observing its unique features one last time before releasing it back into the lake. The fish swam away swiftly, disappearing into the depths. Jake watched it go, a sense of relief washing over him. As Jake drove home, the events of the day replayed in his mind. The excitement of catching the strange fish, the unsettling quiet of the lake, and Mark's bizarre messages. Despite the day's oddities, he felt a sense of accomplishment. Unbeknownst to him, the consequences of his encounter with the strange fish were just beginning to unfold. Jake awoke to an alarming sight. His hands were red, swollen, and itching unbearably. Confusion and panic set in as he tried to recall any unusual contact or allergies, but his mind kept drifting back to the previous day's fishing trip and the strange fish he had caught and released. Without wasting a moment, Jake rushed to the nearest doctor. The drive seemed endless, his hands burning with an itch that wouldn't subside. He explained his symptoms to the doctor, who examined his inflamed hands with a furrowed brow. A seasoned veterinarian with a keen eye for aquatic creatures greeted Jake warmly. As she listened to Jake recounts his fishing trip, her interest piqued noticeably. Dr. Emily's curiosity grew as Jake detailed his experience with the strange fish. "Did you notice anything else unusual about the lake that day?" she asked, her tone suggesting a deeper layer of concern. Jake recalled the eerie silence, the absence of birds, and the unsettling stillness of the lake, adding more pieces to the puzzling situation he now found himself in. As Jake described the fish, Dr. Emily's attention never wavered. Her concern grew with each word she scribbled notes rapidly, her expression turning from curiosity to worry. Jake could sense that his tale was more than just a fisherman's story. Dr. Emily began to piece together the puzzle. She connected Jake's symptoms to his contact with the strange fish and the peculiar circumstances of the lake. Her expression grew serious as she considered the potential implications. With a tone of caution, Dr. Emily advised Jake to avoid any contact with water bodies and fish until they had more answers. "We must wait for the test results," she stressed. Back at home, Jake couldn't shake off the eerie silence of the lake from his mind. It haunted him, that unnatural quiet, as if the lake itself was holding its breath. While awaiting the test results, Jake's mind kept replaying the fishing trip. The mysterious fish with its peculiar features, the way it had felt in his hands, and the strange warnings from Mark. He hoped the results would offer some explanation, some rational understanding of the bizarre events he had experienced. As the hours passed, Jake's concern grew. The unanswered questions multiplied, and with them, a growing anxiety. Determined to find answers, Jake decided to return to the lake. He needed to see if there was anything he had missed, any clue that could explain the fish's peculiarities and his own condition. The drive back was filled with a mix of dread and determination. As Jake arrived at the lake, the same eerie silence greeted him. It was as if the lake was frozen in time, devoid of the usual sounds of nature. The emptiness of the lake seemed to mirror his own growing fears, amplifying the sense that something was not right. This silence, so different from his previous visits, deepened the enigma surrounding the lake. It was as if the water held secrets that were slowly beginning to surface in Jake's mind. The silence, the fish, the warning from Mark. They all seemed to be pieces of a puzzle he couldn't yet solve, leaving him with more questions than answers. Jake's contemplation was interrupted by the arrival of a group of environmental inspectors at the lake. Dressed in official gear, they surveyed the area with a sense of purpose. Their presence was unexpected, and he felt a flicker of hope that they might shed light on the lake's mysteries. Jake shared his experience, especially about the peculiar fish he had caught. The inspectors listened intently, their interest visibly piqued by his story. Encouraged by their interest, Jake pulled out his phone and showed them the photo of the fish. He watched their expressions closely, expecting curiosity, but instead he saw a sudden seriousness take over their faces. "We've never seen anything like this," one of them muttered. Without delay, Jake called Dr. Emily, his voice tense as he relayed the inspector's concerns. She listened intently, her tone shifting to one of urgency. "We need to act fast," she said, preparing for a deeper examination of the situation. The inspectors informed Dr. Emily about their suspicions regarding the fish, highlighting its potential danger. Dr. Emily's response was grave, her words careful, yet filled with a sense of pressing importance. The conversation marked a turning point, revealing just how critical the situation had become. Together, Jake, the inspectors, and Dr. Emily acknowledged the need for swift action. The mystery of the fish's nature and its potential threat to human health and the environment required urgent attention. It was now a mission of public safety. Jake, accompanied by the team, listened intently as they planned an immediate mission to scour the lake for any remaining fish of the same kind. The goal was clear: find and safely remove these creatures to prevent any further incidents. As the mission unfolded, Jake was haunted by the memory of Mark's urgent warnings. "Get away from that fish!" Mark had exclaimed. Now those words echoed in Jake's mind, a haunting prelude to the current crisis. The team, led by Dr. Emily and the inspectors, began a detailed search around the lake. Equipped with specialized gear, they meticulously scanned the waters, determined to find any trace of the unusual fish. Jake watched, his heart pounding with a mix of hope and apprehension, as the team moved with precision and focus, knowing that every moment counted. Motivated by a desire to make amends, Jake threw himself into the mission with unwavering determination. He assisted the team wherever he could, scouring the lake's edges and aiding in the search efforts. His actions were driven by a deep-seated need to rectify his earlier oversight, to contribute meaningfully to resolving the crisis that had begun with his catch. The team's search was intense and thorough, revealing surprising elements of the lake's ecosystem. Each discovery added complexity to the mystery surrounding the fish. Jake observed, fascinated and anxious, as the team collected samples and made notes. After exhaustive research, the team reached a startling conclusion. The strange fish Jake had caught was the only one of its kind in the lake. Jake stood there, processing the news, a mix of astonishment and unease washing over him. The mystery deepened as further investigation revealed the fish was part of a secretive genetic experiment. This experiment, aimed at creating a new species of aquatic life, had evidently gone awry. The fish he had casually caught and released was at the center of a scientific endeavor shrouded in secrecy and controversy. The team discovered evidence of illegal genetic experiments conducted in a hidden facility near the lake. These experiments, linked to the unusual fish and its mutations, painted a picture of scientific ambition crossing ethical boundaries. It became clear that the fish Jake had caught was not just an unusual species, but a dangerous mutation. It carried pathogens potentially harmful to humans and the environment. Jake sat there, feeling a sense of responsibility and urgency, as the reality of the threat posed by his catch became starkly clear. Authorities swiftly acted to close down the secret facility responsible for the illegal experiments. The end of these dangerous activities marked a victory for environmental safety, but it also served as a stark reminder of the ethical boundaries that had been crossed in the name of scientific advancement. As the individuals responsible for the experiments were taken into custody, Jake stood by, deep in thought. The arrest symbolized a measure of justice, but it also prompted him to reflect on the delicate balance of nature and the impact of human intervention. Transformed by his experiences, Jake found himself adopting a new role as an advocate for responsible fishing practices and environmental conservation. His encounter with the fish and the ensuing events had reshaped his worldview, instilling in him a strong desire to protect and preserve the natural world. Ion symbolized a new beginning, not just for the environment, but also for Jake. As he watched life slowly return to the lake, he felt a renewed sense of hope and responsibility. The experience had left an indelible mark on him, inspiring a deep commitment to the protection and nurturing of the natural world around him. As the investigation reached its conclusion, the full truth about the fish emerged. It was a product of cutting-edge genetic engineering, a creation designed for a purpose that now seemed more reckless than revolutionary. The revelation of its connection to the illegal experiments at the facility shed light on the scope of the environmental tampering and the risks it posed. Reflecting on the past events, Jake's thoughts returned to Mark's cryptic warnings. What had once seemed like paranoia now resonated with chilling clarity. Mark's urgent pleas to avoid the fish and leave the lake took on a new, profound meaning. Jake understood the gravity of the danger he had unknowingly faced, a realization that sent a shiver down his spine. Confronted with the stark truth, Jake grappled with the reality that the fish he had caught was an escapee from the nearby lab. This realization brought a mix of shock and understanding. The oddities of the fish, the silent lake, the urgent warnings. It all made sense now. With the facility closed and the experiments halted, Jake took a moment to reflect on the ordeal. The experience had changed him, leaving an indelible mark on his life. He pondered the chain of events that had unfolded from a simple fishing trip, leading to a discovery with far-reaching implications. It was a chapter in his life that he would never forget, one that had reshaped his perspective forever. As the story drew to a close, Jake stood by the lake, a transformed man. He looked forward to a future where he would be an active guardian of the natural world, respecting and protecting its balance. The lake, once a place of leisure, now symbolized a new beginning for him. A commitment to stewardship and a newfound respect for the delicate interplay of nature and human activity.